Hello, everybody. I'm back with James from the Around Earth, and today we're having a bit of a chat about. Actually, what are we chatting about, James? I'll let you tell everybody.
What are we chatting about? I don't know. We're chatting about everything that is happening, and what has happened since we last spoke about a year ago. A little bit more
Is it
than
a
a year.
year?
It's more than a year. Yeah,
Time
yeah.
flies when
So
you're having fun.
yeah, that's it. That's it. Well, last time I was here, we did a let's play video, and it was
Hmm.
just before the Kickstarter.
Yes.
Quite a number of things have changed since then. Firstly, we funded very successfully. I think we were 608% funded or something like
Yeah.
that, and that was ages ago now. I've delivered as well.
Yep.
Delivered in March, a month early.
Very nice.
Yep, yep. That was all. That was all good.
So, all your backers happy with the shiny new toys, I'm guessing?
Yeah, 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 and I almost killed myself packing to the absolute best of my ability with little shredded paper and hand done seals on little Hessian bags, and
Yep.
yeah, yeah, never again.
Well, it's one of those things. Whenever you're launching your first Kickstarter, and is it just yourself, or is there many other
It's
people
just
working
me.
with you?
It's just, I mean, I've got lots of friends who've helped out and
Yeah.
pitched in and helped play test and that sort of thing. But yeah, all the responsibility is on my shoulders. So if anything's wrong, it's my fault.
Well, if I could make a Star Trek quote from the Ferengi, exploitation begins at home. Get your friends and family to help.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, since then, so the Kickstarter went great.
Yep.
You guys got tons of miniatures out the door, all the factions you wanted,
Yep.
and you got a lot of community ones as well.
Yep.
What has changed since that last time we played? Because I remember playing it, and the game felt really nice to me then. So
Yep.
I'm not sure exactly what you're doing to improve on it.
Well, I think that the sort of takeaway point is that the game you probably won't notice any difference playing it the second time around when you're being taught it. But I think that reading the rule book and teaching yourself to play it, you'll have a much easier time. So
Ah, I see.
I basically decided, well, I decided two things after we funded. I looked at the schedule and thought, okay, maybe this is a little bit of a risk, but I'm going to write a lot of fluff. And so there's about 40,000 words of fluff in the rule book.
Excuse me?
And I, I really, really went to town on fleshing out the world in every possible way and as much as I could. In fact, if you home grew an RPG or used a generic RPG rule set, you could definitely role play in the Drowned Earth.
Ooh. You have me curious now.
Yeah, well, maybe one day I'll do something like that, but for the moment, we're going to stick to what we're good at.
Well, there is a couple of systems out there that instantly strike me as, I could possibly use that. But I'll let people out there actually put some comments below.
Yeah.
What RPGs would you use if you were bringing this game
Yeah,
alive?
yeah, there
I'm
are.
curious for that one.
There are a lot of good ones. There's one that I'm a huge fan of that I'm not going to
Really?
mention. But well, let's put it the way it's a generic. It's a generic RPG system, but there is a version of it set in the Star Wars universe.
Oh, I
It's
see.
super narrative and really, really great. Anyway, so the fluff is one thing I did, and the other thing I did was pretty much just take the rule book completely apart and rewrite it and put it back together in a way which made a lot more sense and which I felt was much easier to read, and did lots of things like making sure that the terminology was really standardized throughout, and so that everything was really straightforward and unambiguous, and that you wouldn't have these sort of rules questions that didn't have a definitive answer in the rule book.
See, I like the idea that you're doing that because there's a crime that I notice a lot of game designers do without realizing they do it. They write something and it makes perfect sense inside their own head because they know how they intend it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've always said, go back, reread your stuff, and one company I was talking to recently actually said they employ what they call the professional layman.
Yeah.
So they actually take what they've written and hand it to someone who has never seen it before and say, go learn to play my game.
Yeah.
If you have any problems, come back to me and tell me which points you're having it.
I had two friends in Manchester actually set up a camcorder and just video their attempt to play the game at one stage. So, and that was fascinating.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's one thing we've done. But the rules have changed slightly as well. Mostly, what I've done is just when there was a slightly awkward solution, I've made it a more streamlined solution.
I see. So you're smoothing out speed bumps.
Exactly. Yeah, and if you remember the movement system, which is really a kind of a unique selling point of the game. You can leap off things and jump up walls, climb up walls, do all that kind of parkour movement. There were quite a number of different types of movement. You could jump, you could leap, you could jump down, you could climb. And now effectively there's normal moving, running along a space. There's restricted movement where you only move so you have two movement distances, like you have two of most things, and they pertain to the dice result. You either succeed or you succeed really well. So most models either move 4 or they move 6, depending on what dice they roll. If you're just walking along the street normally, you don't need to roll because you should generally just be able to walk 6 inches.
Yeah, well, most people know how to walk.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're doing something, if you're crawling or you're swimming, then you always use the shorter distance. And then if you're doing something like trying to run up a wall or climb or leap off something, then you roll the dice, and if you pass, you move the shorter distance, and we call it nail it, if you pass really well, then you move the long distance. And it's pretty much as simple as that. So everything's just much more streamlined. Every different type of dynamic movement has been consolidated into a single table. The only difference is, what happens when you fail to jump from one building if you critical fail from when you're jumping from one building to the other, well, you can guess what's going to happen. You're going to end up plummeting. So that can be different in implementation, but not in the mechanic. The mechanic is always the same. Your opponent says where they want you to fall from. So previously we had 4 different tables and what have you, and it's just all condensed down into one thing. So much easier.
Nice. You see, for me, whenever we played our Let's Play last time, the movement was kind of a star of the show. That whole idea of managing my resources and seeing, okay, that person's actually moving in a certain way. Can I maybe actually get a shot off at them, or do I maybe want to hold that resource? But whenever you were actually trying to do something epic, coming into the movement and saying, okay, I'm going to climb up in here, and I'm actually probably going to need to stab you when I get in this building. So let's see if I can do it. I love that idea.
So that now, it works exactly the same way it used to. There are just less rules to do the same thing.
Perfect. That's what I like to hear.
So what else did we do? Line of sight. So we hadn't properly resolved line of sight, and now we're using line of sight templates, which also that's what these are, and they also double as movement indicators. So for super competitive play, if you're playing in a tournament, if you want absolutely no ambiguity, you've got your little dude.
Let's say I have my miniature. Just pop him here, and let's say I want to move him.
So you take the line of sight template, and you say that's where I want him to move to. So let's say that's 6 inches. You've indicated where you want to move to. Now you roll the dice, and you either move the whole way or only part of the way between that point and that point, depending on what you're trying to do.
So I remember we were talking. It was a game of intention. You were actually showing someone what your intention is whenever you were doing your actions. The idea of having the template to actually say, I can clearly show my intention right now without, no ambiguity, no arguments after the fact.
And I'll be honest with you that we almost never use them. Because we just play relatively, we're not going to try and play testing. It's not about winning, and so we're not particularly interested in saying, you forgot to do that or what have you. And the other thing is, it just it eliminates that thing where you say, well, when you look at the dice, you're like, well, what I actually meant I wanted to do was go there instead of there. Now I know that I couldn't quite make it the whole way.
See, I like that because it's making you declare if you're really pushing for something heroic or risky. You're declaring it before you go for it. And if you fail, you fail. Whereas if you play it safe and go, oh, no, actually I was going to be that heroic guy, it makes it more narrative and more worthwhile to me whenever you actually make the roll.
Absolutely.
You feel better about it.
So the way these, as I say, they have a double purpose. They're also line of sight templates. And if you're trying to shoot a model that's there and you can't decide whether you have line of sight or not, then you replace the model with that template. You point the arrow towards the shooting model.
Oh, I see. I can call this up. So on the base here, you can actually see there's an arrow and the type, which is A for this one.
Yep.
And it's on the base too.
Yeah, that's right.
Really nice.
That's right. So yeah, you point the arrow towards the shooter, and that way you know you've always got a
silhouette.
Exactly. Yeah. You're facing on, and there are different templates for the different model types. So that's the standard sized infantry one.
Yeah.
There's your big guy infantry one, of course.
Well, let me just pull all of them that we have here. Okay, so we have regular guy. What's this?
That is Little Dino, and so you can see on the profile card they've got it shows which template that you use for that model.
Yeah, and then so C matches to C.
Yeah, exactly that.
Cool. So you've got regular human, Little Dino.
Yeah.
I'm guessing this is our big tough guy.
Yeah, big tough guys.
Yeah, and then we have
you've got that's the cavalry one, and then you've got Big Dino.
Gotcha.
And these are made by Art of War Studios, so you can buy them from their website.
That's Grant, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
Really
they do
nice
great stuff. They did all of our templates. Super happy with them, and some of the prize support is coming from them as well for our organised play pack, which we'll talk about another time, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's something that excites me is because the gameplay is so narrative in this. To have organised play, to play competitively, but still have that narrative build from the base in the game.
Yeah.
That's going to make really interesting.
Yeah. Well,
games.
I've got interesting things to tell you about that because we've got a. In fact, it's probably worth a video of its own, I think.
Okay.
If you're up for it.
Guess everybody out there has to wait for this one.
So the other big one, and it's related to these movement templates, is tightening up what order things are resolved in. In fact, I think you've got a. Is
that this? I think.
Yes, that's right. So. Again, for competitive play, if there's ever a situation where you're like, well, what happens first? This is a definitive list of all the things that can happen during an activation and what order that they happen in. And the key takeaway is just you declare what you want to do, you test, you roll the dice, and then at the end, after you've done that, then you apply the results. And so it's a reaction game, and so this is super important at times.
Yeah, well, then, like, depending on what actions are being taken place by both sides, the action priority, that can be a bit sticky. So I like the idea that you've had that moment and went, I need to step back and think about this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, super important if you want the game to be played rigorously. Then that was something that always needed to.
Yeah, for me that always depends on my opponent. You know, most people, if they forget something, I'll say it's all right, gone ahead, do it.
Yeah.
I always expect the exact same back, but if I get someone that's playing super sticky, I'll play super sticky.
Yeah. No, I think that's the only way to be, really.
Yeah. Anything else cool?
We also introduced a proper model cap for list building, so you can see there's three little dots there. That means you can take 3 of that model.
So just here at the end of the name.
So originally, when we last played, there was like the list building restrictions were ratio based, so you had to take half characters and half dinos. Whereas now there's no restriction like that, but you just have to obey the cap. Yeah,
the model limit.
That's
awesome.
Right. That's right.
I like the idea of that as well, because if you're going into organized play, you might find someone who's just going to try and spam stuff.
Yeah.
So if you were saying half character, half dino, they might just take half of the biggest dinos they could lay their hands on.
Yeah, or the smallest and have like 30 activations. Every turn it takes an hour.
Oh, that would be a nightmare. I remember I used to play against people in tournaments that did that. They would just have like horde armies.
Yeah.
And it was just like, right, your turn. I'm going to go get lunch. I'll see you soon.
Yeah. So another thing that we introduced is the pass tokens. So if they're at the beginning of the turn, you count up the difference between the amount of models that you've each got, which are still conscious on the table, and the person with the smaller amount takes pass tokens. So that kind of that helps that situation where you can save your entire plan until the other your opponents run out of activations and then execute it, and there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, that it plays into the active reactive system that you've built, because there's nothing worse than playing a game like that and your opponent's got, say, 3 activations at the end. See that one character of yours, all 3 of these are going to shoot at him and nothing he can do.
Yeah, and it's especially important since in this game reactions are finite. They cost action points, and anything that you do in reaction is one thing that you're not going to do in your own active turn.
Exactly. So whenever you start losing models and losing actions, it really sort of snowballs.
Yeah.
But having pass tokens, I'm guessing that mitigates it.
Yeah, it helps a lot.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What else do we have?
Those are, I guess, what I'd call the sort of changes to the rules. We've introduced a few things as well. So, did we play with them? But every leader had a special rule, which usually was something that gave the rest of their side a boon. And what we've actually done is we've taken them off the leader profile cards and put them onto leader ability cards.
I see. That would be these, if I'm not very mistaken, yeah?
Ta-da! These. Yeah, there we go. They're two-sided. This one in particular, one of the sides is Forek only, so that's the leader of the militia.
Yeah.
The other side is generic. What might you deduce from that?
That maybe if my leader dies, someone else can step up to take him out?
Or perhaps somewhere down the line we might release other leaders for each faction.
Okay, so I was wrong. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it was a mean thing to do, to put you on there. But yeah, so if you can take Forex special ability, which is a super useful one.
Military discipline.
He's slightly less good at commanding than the other in terms of his intelligence than the other leaders, but he is allowed to fail and keep commanding one time per turn. And That's command, nice. Just to remind everybody at home, commanding is the ability to move action points from one model to another, provided both models have line of sight to your leader, so he can effectively shout orders at people and coordinate your strategy during the game. So that's a great one for him. However, sometimes you just want to blow things up.
Nothing says I love you quite like high explosives.
Well, I remember when you first last time. In fact, here he is. When you first saw Forek and you looked at the just a render and you saw he had some grenades hanging from his belt and you said, is he going to get those? And well, this is the answer. Yes. So they're finite. You put a token on them. With each use, so he only gets a couple of uses when he or any other future militia leader takes them.
See, that actually makes real thematic sense to me as well, because it's probably not a grenade that's really been made, it's maybe one that's been found.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can only carry so many. So what else have we got in the
I have another pair of leader cards, I believe, sitting here.
So these are, again, actually we've got actually both of these are Canada only. So this is the leader of the firm, and again he can take stun grenades, or he can so that's the selfish option, or the altruistic option is that he allows every other, so of course you can take wayfarers, you can take dinosaurs, it doesn't affect them, it only affects other members of the firm. But when your opponent makes an armor roll, they are trying to roll under their armor value. If they roll a 9 or a 10, yes, it is a 9 or a 10. It was just a 10 at one stage, and of course I forget which rule I went for. But they take double damage. So each failed armor roll inflicts 2 rather than the usual 1 damage.
Okay, is that just an ability that's on the whole time for the firm then?
No, so if Canada takes Killer Instinct, then it's on. If Canada's taken out, then it isn't on anymore.
I see. So basically the boss is watching, let's make sure and kill people.
Exactly, yeah. Gotcha. He's inspiring everybody. And so, there are various ones of these. Some of them, this is the Bondsman one. If you flip it, you'll see most of them, the flip side has another ability for that faction. This actually has a generic ability which several different factions can take, and you can see they've got the faction logos. So for example, the Alert Crew can be taken by Firm, Bondsman, or Artifactors.
I see. So what does this one do then?
So that allows you to take more effect cards. What are effect cards, you might
I
ask?
think I have a few sitting here. So if I want to cycle through them, is this an effect card?
That is an effect card. So we've all been there.
Yeah.
You've built your perfect list.
Yeah.
You absolutely love it. But you've got 3 points left over. What can you buy for 3 points? Nothing. But you can buy effect cards, and what they are typically. Everyone who backed the Kickstarter got 7 effect cards. They're available to download for anyone, and you can legally in a tournament play with a downloaded and printed out version. It's no issue there. But what they really are is they serve a number of different purposes, but mostly they are very selective and limited luck mitigation. So when you really need to get that extra, what have we got on there? So distraction, yeah. When you really need to get to the objective and you know that your opponent has declared a reaction to try and shoot you before you get there, and you've only got a couple of wounds left, and they could potentially take you out, and it's a game-winning moment. You can slap down distraction. Another member of your crew, makes an animal call or something like that. They get confused, and you get extra armor for that.
Yeah, because they're not really aiming on target.
Exactly.
I like a lot.
And again, sharp wits. When you're all out of action points, but your model is in a really useful position, you really don't want to lose them. Somebody shoots, you can play that for a free dodge instead of normally you would have to use an action point.
And are these once per game?
Yes. Typically they are. There might be some in the future which aren't. And you heard it here first, I think, actually. This is an exclusive leak.
Yeah.
We are going to be releasing a deck of these with quite a few more options at different points values, possibly even ones which allow you to take models from friendly but non-Wayfarer factions. So, for example, the Militia and the Artifactors are not enemies. There might be a card that lets you take, for example, Sage in the Militia.
I see.
That sort of thing.
Okay, this is an idea that I absolutely adore. There is nothing that frustrates me more than whenever I'm building lists. Let's say I'm building to 100 points.
Yeah.
And I get to 97 and I max out, and my buddy manages to nail the 100 points.
Yeah.
I feel
you feel like you've got to be at a disadvantage somewhere.
Yeah, there's something in the back of my head saying I'm going to be fighting harder here.
Yeah. So those cards, you can take Sage, but he'll cost a few points more than he would do if he was in the Artifactors. Yeah. So that's one thing, and we also probably will include some more leader cards in that deck as well. We'll have to see. I'm not 100% on that, but that's just a little something that's coming. And the decks probably they will rotate with the organised play seasons. So this season you'll be able to take Sage, but next season the Militia will be able to take an Artifactor model which isn't yet out, for example.
And what will this tie into the narrative of the season or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Very
sometimes maybe there's something that happens at the final tournament of the year, and will actually reflect that in a rules change or in a new card or a new ability or even a new model release. Sometimes we'll see.
Yeah, that's actually really cool because it gives me the sense that the world is living and breathing. The timeline's moving forward.
Yeah, and I am so keen on that idea. I really want to do that. Have this idea that the players there's a feedback loop. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment because I've got some things to say about that. Those are the effect cards, and that's pretty much. I think that's everything that we didn't have when we last played that we do now have.
It sounds like you've been busy as hell. I love everything you've done. There's not a single thing there that I would disagree with. Whenever we played the last time, I thought the game was more than ready to go to it. Now it's even better. Yeah. Well, the proof is in the pudding. See what you think after you've played the new version. I'd be interested to know whether you notice whether it feels any different, because I really don't think it does. We'll see. We'll see. Just easier. So another exciting thing which is happening. So we've got lots of exciting plans, but we've got Angel Giraldes on board painting some of the models, and he's done a fantastic job at painting the Utah Raptors. Ankel seems to be everywhere in the industry these days.
I mean, he must be the hardest working man in the miniatures industry as far as
I don't know where he finds the hours in the day,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, for the amount of work he's doing, because everybody I'm talking to is going, yes, we got Age of Heralders.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
I just hope he has enough time.
yeah, that's it. My big question is, does he like dinosaurs more than he likes rabbits? Because his Instagram, the miniatures are great, but it's all about the rabbits, really, I think. But I think I sent you a picture of the Utahraptors. Maybe we could show it.
Yes, I believe, is this them?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Yeah, looking good. Looking
He's
very
done a
good.
gorgeous
Looking very
job
nice.
on those.
Yeah.
It's something I've never really seen him do before, is just do pure organics. Normally I'm expecting to see armor come out from him.
Yeah.
You know, like heavy duty sci-fi stuff, but seeing something just so clean and crisp, and the blending between the skin tones is fabulous. And I do notice he took a little bit of artistic license with the color of dinosaurs,
Yeah.
because no one can know what color dinosaurs were. If you have science to prove me wrong, put it below.
Well, I think that dinosaurs that lived in rainforests would definitely look like tropical birds.
Yeah.
So all of my dinosaur color schemes are like crazy tropical bird of paradise, parrot colored. You know.
I can live with that, because
it's fun.
it makes them really beautiful on the board.
Yeah.
But it also does one thing that I notice a lot of players do. They attack the shiny thing. So if you take like the smallest unit of dinos, paint them incredibly well, and put them out and go, yeah, I'm so proud of those.
And there are several dinosaur profiles which are basically about running interference.
Yeah.
They're about creating threat vectors for your opponent and making giving them a problem that they have to deal with. But while they're dealing with that problem, you execute your real plan.
I see. And if they don't deal with them, can they still chomp and do a bit of damage?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. Anything else to cover?
So we've got some new releases coming. Again, I think we'll talk about that in another video. But we're trying to get rolling on the regular release schedule to expand the range and make sure that, as well as the dinos and the Wayfarer options that people have to list build, they'll actually have lots of in-faction options to swap out different models and swap in. And certain scenarios you might find a reason to want 2 mechs, for example, and so you'd be able to do that at a certain stage. And I mean, who doesn't just want lots of Berengi, the gorilla guys?
Yeah, why not?
I mean, you do really, don't you?
Yeah, they are quite cool.
Yeah.
Now, I do have a question.
Yeah.
So if you're going for a regular release schedule now, is that something that's going to come to Kickstarter, or is that just going to be direct to market?
No, direct to market.
Direct to market.
Yeah,
That's
just...
Again, something I like, because it means that your fans who have now bought in aren't having to wait for the next production cycle.
Yeah.
They can just start jumping in and start expanding into their forces and actually
absolutely.
living in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I feel like if you need to release a whole faction and you want to see how many people are going to get behind it before you properly commit, then that's one thing. But I think for just expanding the range, it should just happen organically.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And it's all about bringing new tactics and new options to the table.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like there's nothing worse than playing the same game over and over again, but having what you have at the minute. I think there's a lot in there that you can actually start playing with, bringing in the Wayfarers, bringing in the dinos to actually change up your forces.
Yeah.
It's going to give you a lot of tactical flexibility.
Yeah. And when you see the organized play tournament pack, there are lots of tactical challenges there where you don't want to take. It's why I decided I wasn't going to have a tournament pack with a single points value. So you just take 120 points and you use the same list over and over again. Yeah. You can tailor your list to the requirements of the specific scenario every time.
That's very cool, because there's something I dislike about some tournaments that are static like that, which is if I've built my list and I come up against that one thing that I never wanted to see. There's no flexibility to retune my
it's difficult
tactics.
to do anything about it.
Yeah, but with this, it means that you can look at it beforehand and say, I know they've been playing them, and they'll probably have this, so I think I'll drop this guy because he always gets taken out by them, and I'll put in a couple of these because they'll maybe do a better job for me.
Yeah, and it also means that when
as well,
inevitably, sometimes in a tournament you're going to end up playing blue on blue.
Yeah.
And you're just much less likely to have a complete mirror list if you do that.
And are you playing same point level the whole time? Or are you changing the point level?
The points level changes from game to game, but obviously each player is playing at the same level for each game, as you would expect.
Awesome.
So then we're Deep Cut Studios are making a map for us.
I saw it's beautiful.
Yeah, you've seen some preview pictures of it, but that's coming very soon. And I'm working hard to get some official scenery organized as well.
Nice.
So at the moment, Generic Ruins with aquarium plants do a great job. I'm making some lollipop walkways as well. Does a great job. Using sort of industrial sci-fi terrain also works really well. Again, just chuck loads of aquarium plants on it. It all looks great on the Deep Cut Studios map. I've got a prototype which I'll show you if I can.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's all looking really good, and I think it'll really help organised play as well when we have the sort of official mats, official scenery, and everybody comes and they know what to expect.
Well, it gives you a preset vision of the world.
Yeah.
If you're using terrain from like lots of different sources, the world can start to feel disjointed. So having an official one, this is officially what the Drowned Earth, the world of it, looks like.
Yeah.
So that's very good to have.
Yeah. And I mean, I love the fact that people have the option to riff on the theme and to do their own thing and to bring their own, and to make their own table and make things out of scratch, or just buy a bunch of MDF stuff and put that together. It's in fact, I've played it just like as I did when I was a kid, and you couldn't buy sheet polystyrene, and things like that. So we books, green sheet, some sponges for rocks and things like that. And actually, I played some fun games around Earth, just chucking a whole load of household boxes and books and mugs and things jumping up and off things.
I actually did see recently a couple of guys playing a bit of a piss take game where they were playing just on a dining table, and they just went into the kitchen and started grabbing utensils. Yeah.
Well, from a game design point of view, it's interesting to see how the game changes depending on what the terrain conditions are like, and that was something that was quite important to me. I know people see the terrain that I've made and think that's the one way to do it, and it absolutely isn't. There are a number of different ways, and I'm working on that all the time in playtesting, even trying to work on a completely 2D table. The key is that there has to be lots of cover, because it's a science fiction game with ranged weaponry, and in any game like that, particularly a low model count character based game, you just know the game's going to be over really quickly if you've just got a blank table.
Bullets hurt.
yeah, exactly. That's it. So organised play is a thing that we're doing, that we've already spoken about at some length, and so that the organised play pack is coming out very soon. In fact, it might be out by the time this video comes, and the idea behind that is just that you've got a set group of narrative scenarios which are linked to each other. You can swap some out, so there are a couple of key ones that have to be in every tournament, so usually the beginning and the end, and then what goes in the middle is either the things from the tournament pack or things from the rule book. So if you want a 7 game tournament over 2 days, you can use all 5 from the tournament pack, and then
grab 2 more.
Grab 2 more, or you can swap out 1 and put swap in 3, whatever you like, really. But they're, as I said, they're all at different points values, and the idea is that at the end of it, you've gone through a little story journey, and every player feels like they went on a bit of a campaign, but without doing the thing that a lot of campaign stuff ends up doing, which is kind of unbalancing the game a little bit. And cool stuff isn't always balanced, and so it's playing, trying to create that balance, because the last thing I have to talk about, and this is another world exclusive, I think, I've alluded to it before, but it's definitely going to happen. Maybe next year we're going to run a Kickstarter for a campaign system.
Ooh, lovely.
And so it will be a highly narrative campaign. It'll be a 2-player experience where you face off against each other over a course of different games which tell a story, with legacy mechanics, with leveling up your characters, with finding bits of equipment and changing their weapons, and generally moving towards a sort of big finale. So I really want that to be something which people have a feeling that they went on an RPG campaign, effectively. At the end of it, they've got a little story of what happened during their journey to the end.
I see. Well, if that's something you're doing, I definitely want to get you in for a Skype interview to actually sit down and talk about what you think makes for a good campaign, what elements you're possibly thinking of putting in.
Yeah, well,
I think that could be a really interesting discussion.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a hot topic nowadays, actually. Yeah.
All right, well, if that's everything.
Yeah, that's everything.
Everybody, I tell you what, get your comments in below. Tell us, what are you thinking of the Drowned Earth? Are you one of the very happy people out there who is now sitting with all of your gorgeous minis, painting them up, getting them ready to go out adventuring? Myself and James will move on here. We'll see you again very soon.